Welcome to this week's edition of the Weekly Travel Alert. I'm Steve Glenn.
I'm Paul Glenn.
Paul, spring is sprung.
It feels like it. This last weekend was beautiful.
Now people are going to be excited. They're going to want to start prepping for their summer vacations.
Until Thursday when I think our high is 28.
Okay.
So we can still do some winter vacations.
You know, there's one of my favorite songs is by Delta Wires. They're a jazz and blues group that we're having at the Montone Blues Festival, June 26 to 28 in Montone, Umbria, Italy.
I know Titus, my nephew, he's excited for that.
Yeah, that's right. And one of their best songs is "I Need a Vacation." So that should be our theme
Should be
song.
our theme song. Yeah.
All right. Hey, we're having fun talking about travel every Tuesday at 10:30. We send out 100,000 emails of the Weekly Traveler. You can register at executivetravel.com. You can also call our friendly office at 402-435-8888. Paul, we've been doing this now how many years?
40 years.
40 years.
40
wow.
years of
We're
fun.
going to figure out what we're doing someday, aren't we?
Someday.
It's getting better every year.
It changes constantly, but the opportunities are just that much greater.
Oh, my gosh. We're seeing that. Of course, we're having fun with a lot of things.
A lot of that, I think the world gets smaller. You know, I think that's what we've seen is 40 years ago, what people had access to and what they could get knowledge about was so much more difficult. And now with the last, 20 years, 25 years with the internet, what you have access to, and now social media having such an impact on travel and travel being such a hot topic, it's just made it so it's more fun because it's a bigger topic and people, I think, are dreaming bigger.
Yeah, thank goodness they're dreaming bigger. I know at home, I don't go home and watch TV. I go home, bring up YouTube videos on travel.
Uh-huh.
And I just watch everything from what to eat, how to drink coffee in Italy, and you name it. There's a YouTube for it. And we're glad you joined our YouTube channel at Executive Travel, right?
Do you drink coffee differently in Italy?
Well, they have all these types of coffees.
Okay.
They got a flat white, a latte, a double latte, an Americano. You get confused. Then if you order a cappuccino after lunch, you're in bad trouble in Italy. So
I just wanted to make sure the ultimate goal is still to get it in the mouth and not down the chin.
Well, I get it on my shirt a lot. Okay. Hey, we're talking today. We've got some interesting news about our friends at American Airlines. And so I'd like to read the first heading of this week's Weekly Traveler. You ready?
Yeah, let's
Here
do
we
this.
go. American Airlines at war with itself. Paul, this last week they had two of their unions, their pilots and their flight attendants, voted to give them a lack of confidence to their CEO.
Senior leadership.
So, that just doesn't happen. Obviously, when they're fighting for wages and stuff, but they just got a 40% increase in wages, both of them last year. So it's not about wages, but what it is about is, in addition to wages, they get bonuses based on profitability.
Yeah.
And American Airlines, the C-levels made some major mistakes, and we're going to go through those today. So number 2 on this week's edition of the Weekly Traveler, it reads, American strategy whiplash still weighs on performance. Yeah, and you remember this in 2024. They had a hotshot a chief commercial officer that says, hey, we're going to slap down our corporate customers, our travel management companies. We're gonna tell them this is the way.
It's our way or no way.
That's our way or the highway. And a lot of them said, well, we'll take the highway because there's a lot of competition out there. And that was a major problem. They say they lost over $1.5 billion on that mistake. They fired that dude. And then they came back and said, hey, we made a mistake. We'd like to kiss and make up, and there's still some residual of that in the marketplace.
Not everybody just wants to kiss and make up.
So anyway, what you're seeing today is Delta and United are both experiencing, very, very positive results. They're basically expanding internationally with new business class seats, new airplanes, new everything. They're basically getting great revenue out of the front half of their plane. and they're expanding to places they've never flown to before. So they're seeing a lot of revenue come from that. American didn't jump at that as quickly, and had to deal with other problems that caused it some major headaches.
But they are doing some things that I think are interesting as you look at that. They're going into some new markets. Right. As we've talked about before, they're going to war with United in Chicago.
Right.
And that's where some of these new markets are coming from.
Even Lincoln, Nebraska.
Trying to get feeders so that then maybe they could help them expand their international. So I think they're doing some things to try to counter some of the things that they have done. But when you're not making money,
well, they're making money. They're just not making as much as
the other guys.
And it's kind of probably like the grass is greener on the other side by their unions. So I think they're headed in the right direction. Perhaps they're just not doing it as fast. A year and a half ago, we were talking the same thing about Southwest Airlines, weren't we?
Making major changes.
Yeah, they were making major, and just this year,
just the last couple of weeks, some of those got implemented.
Yeah, and seat assignments.
I haven't heard much regarding what that's looked like for them. So it'll be interesting to see financially if that's been a positive thing for them.
Oh, they had a big quarter.
Did they?
Yeah,
have they had fallout from their traditional clientele? Has it gotten them the move to corporate travelers, but have they had the fallout from those people that have been the let's buy cheap, fly Southwest travelers historically?
Well, we'll find out. Yeah. Number 3 on this week's edition of the Weekly Traveler, another reason why the flight attendants and the pilots are kind of upset at the senior management of American Airlines. Recent winter storm highlights the lack of empathy and leadership. Now, they had this winter storm. We had people stuck in Chicago and all around, and they let their flight attendants had to sleep on the floor and their pilots at the airport.
Yeah.
And the management came out and said, basically, that's just part of the job. Well, that's probably not the best empathetic comment you want to make to your key union groups is say, buck up, buddy. Well, that kind of made things worse. And so I think when you have a winter storm, you probably ought to show some empathy that people are up 24 hours. Even our customers had to sleep in couldn't find a hotel.
Couldn't find hotel rooms.
Yeah. So those are tough things, and I don't think that went over like a lead balloon.
Yeah, well, I think I would have probably reacted the same way.
That's right. Number 4 on this week's edition of the Weekly Traveler, it reads, American now ranks at the bottom of many brand rankings, reflecting growing dissatisfaction. Paul, if you looked at independent data, J.D. Power ranks American last and first in business class satisfaction, with economy class also trailing their key competitors, United and Delta. The Wall Street Journal dropped the airline from 5th place in 2023 to last in 2025, with BTN's airline survey has placed American at the bottom for 4 consecutive years. So although the results were improved for 2025, so the point is that's probably where they need to focus. They got to work on the quality side. They got to work on, I think they're working really hard on on-time arrivals. I've seen an improvement there. But it just seems like they were off doing other things a couple of years ago and haven't gotten quite back on track yet.
Well, and I think you got to realize your employees, taking care of them is going to have the impact on what that client experiences as well. So if you've got your flight attendants that aren't happy,
and pilots
that aren't happy. I mean, the pilots don't interact much with the clients, but those flight attendants are the face of the organization. So if they're complaining and clients are hearing that, then that has an impact.
Yeah. Number 6 on this week's edition, actually number 5 on this week's edition of the Weekly Traveler, goes out every Tuesday at 10:30. And we're sponsored by Executive Travel. And I was thinking earlier today that we've done how many podcasts?
This is 113 or 114.
All right. We
better get Titus. Yeah.
Better get Titus going. Okay. Can the leadership of American pull them out of this tailspin? And I hate to use that word tailspin, but with an airplane. But it's so Accountability questions persist as unions point to. They paid $1 million to buy out the guy that caused all the problems. That's kind of salt in the wound, wouldn't you say?
That's almost as good as being a fired college football coach.
Yeah, that's right. You make more being fired.
You make more getting fired.
So now the cool thing, not the cool thing, but their CEO pledged that 2026 can't just feel different. It has to be different. It's like we can't just talk the talk. We got to walk the walk.
Actions speak louder than words.
And I think that's a strong statement that we got to not just talk about it. We got to do it. Yeah. We got to perform. So I think that's a positive movement forward. I think they're going to not happen quickly, but you've got the second quarter and the third quarter of 2026 right now coming staring at us. Mm-hmm. And so they've got the opportunity to jump out of this by the end of the third quarter.
Finish the year strong.
Yeah, finish the year strong. Hopefully have a strong, where they make their rain. The rain comes in the second quarter and the third quarter. Mm-hmm. They make their hay. Yeah. It rains in the second, third quarter. They make their hay. All right. Here's what I think corporate travel leaders should watch for. They're kind of at a critical point, Paul. You've got to, they got the labor tensions, the strategic mistakes, operational strains, and their brand has kind of been not getting the best
tarnished
PR. Yeah. So, there's some real risk for corporate travel managers. We just need to all watch it very closely to see if it starts to go upward or level, stay the same,
put into place, or if the risk starts increasing.
Yeah. And so this summer is going to tell a lot about American Airlines. And it leads actually to our last and final comments on this week's Weekly Travel Alert is I personally want and expect American Airlines to come out of this in a positive way. And one of the reasons why, Paul, they're too big to fail. Mm-hmm. There's no way American Airlines could ever fail. They can go bankrupt, but it doesn't mean they're going away. No. They're not going to go bankrupt. They're just, their profits aren't where they need to be.
And it could impact the consumer. I mean, the reality is going back to what we've touched upon, is this summer, as you mentioned, it could get to the point it impacts consumer if some of these things happen. Yeah. So that's, I think, what we want to watch for is, we hope that they turn the ship, right the rudder, and that this isn't anything, that they're able to get going back the right direction. And these are all just things that cause them to change their outlook and make the changes necessary to pull out of this. But we also want to make sure that people understand there is some risk going into this summer with summer travel, that there could be disruptions.
Yeah, and that's what we're most worried about, that the attendants or the pilots will say, we'll show senior management.
Yeah, we're going to walk out,
slow things down.
We'll
just happen to have some problems that we can't take off on time, and we don't want that kind of messy situation. So with this whole process, I've got a feeling that American Airlines, sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is a slap in the face, because it forces you to look in the mirror and say, what direction do we got to go? Because this didn't do very well.
Or you have to change direction.
Yeah.
When you run into the brick wall, you all of a sudden realize that you got to go a different way. Been there, done that.
Better pivot. better pivot. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this week's edition of the Weekly Travel Alert. I'm Steve Glenn.
And I'm Paul Glenn. Please like, subscribe, share, and add any comments or feedback on topics that would be of interest for future episodes. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.